to the cloud. Okay. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for suffering through our Instagram Live issues. I think Dave answered the question for me. I need more followers. So if you're not following me yet, start following me and we can do Instagram Lives in the future. Dave Levine is self-made. He is an early adopter of many, many types of technologies, different types of systems. And I've watched his trajectory just go through the roof. He's a dear friend of my husband's. That's how I know Dave. And through Leo, I've become friends with Dave. So, Dave, tell us a little bit about your background in like a little nutshell and why you wrote this book.
Well, I was an entrepreneur, CEO, founder of my company for 20 years. I'd always sort of been an investor, but when I sold my business, I became a full-time investor, super interested in crypto, went into that rabbit hole. Again, my attraction to the things people aren't looking at. And, I've done well, but now I have two young kids and I see what goes on in school, and studying math is fine and learning how to write a 5-paragraph essay is wonderful and all, but can we learn something about money? And as soon as they turn 18, everyone's trying to lock them into those loans without knowing anything about what it means to lock yourself into a loan for an investment you haven't researched. And so I really want, I'm trying to teach my kids, but I want to teach them, but everybody, this should be in schools, right?
Which takes us to our very first question. Well, first of all, thank you for taking the time to do this. I know you're super busy, and thank you for writing this book. Part of my excitement with this book is a little selfish. I have a lot of friends who want to ask Leo, well, how do you do what you do? And when people ask me what Leo does, I'm kind of I'm always cautious. I'm like, do I tell them? Do I not? Like, he basically trades our capital, he manages our money, and people are like, he manages your money. Can you do that for? I'm like, no, my husband did not bust his ass for 30 years for him to like tutor you through things you should already know. So you writing this book allows me to just say, read Dave's book. So thank you, thank you, thank you for that. And then segueing to the first question, which you were already starting to answer, what should kids be learning from this book in school? And someone asked that question. I said everything, but I'll let the author speak to that.
Yeah, well, I do think there's so much to learn that my vision is just like you have math every day, English every day for 4 years in high school. You should have financial literacy every day. The general path that I took with this book and what I think should be taught is, I start with first, investing is not gambling. Gambling, the more you do, the more you lose. It's guaranteed that's how it works. Yep. With investing, if you do it correctly, the more you're in the market, the more you gain. And I start with very simple, just own the S&P 500. Like most professional investors can't beat that. But the reality of investing is, oh, great, I've got this thing, $60 a month for 50 years, right? That's 720 a year you put into the S&P 500 over 50 years. That's $36,000 that you put in every month, $60. How much is that after 50 years? $1 million. Oh, wow. But you're a kid. Okay, fabulous. I'm going to have $1 million when I'm 50. But what about when I'm, 20? And it really, what it comes down to is the best way to make money is knowledge in your brain on how to earn income. So really, most of the book for me, the most important part is that how to have not just make money either, a fulfilling career and even a full life, which, people are like, oh, you know what? I'll just spend tens of thousands of dollars to go to college and then I'll figure it out. Meanwhile, they don't even teach it in college. So, again, start with the investing because you want to start early, putting your money in. You want to set up those systems of personal finance. Obviously, don't spend more than you make, but think about it and channel the little bit of money you have correctly. But then it really comes down to, and I sort of break it down to learn a skill. We talk about learning, and college is a path, a very expensive one that you better think about. And there's many other paths for learning. You get a skill, then you work. Applying that skill, you earn money. And then you can go further and start managing other people. And then you can even become an owner of the whole process, which maybe you're starting your own business. Maybe you're just working up in a corporation, or maybe you just have a part-time job and focus on your family, Yeah. And I even get into the whole life of, health and relationships, and money. Those three things you want to get right. Most of the book is about money, but I also remind everybody at the end, don't forget about the other things.
I like that. And you actually start off with that too. You talk about, you have a very good introduction, and we'll get back to that in a little bit. But basically, what people need to learn in school is demystifying the whole investment world and investing. And what I read in the first few chapters was you need to know the difference between money that you're going to need pretty soon and money that you can leave alone for a while because there's compounding interest and all that good stuff, which read the book. I mean, you have no excuse to not read the book. It's free right now. You can download it for free on Amazon and leave a review. But basically, just demystify it, teach people how to create a budget. Obviously, you can't really stick to a budget if you're not earning any money. So you lay it out really cleanly and simply. And I was going through the chapters and I commended Leo, and I commend you for making everything so concise and clear. So really, you've laid out a path for people to follow, and it's not hard. It really isn't hard. I think part of the challenge today is we need instant gratification. So you're saying, a kid or a teenager thinking about $1 million when they're 50 or, 60 at that point or whatever, it's hard to grasp because it is so far away. But really starting that discipline, right? And you even mentioned start with as little as what? I think you said something like you can start with as little as $10 and just get in the habit of it, get in that muscle memory of
Set up
doing
the
that.
systems
Yeah.
for that long-term
Yeah.
investing. And, but I also try to say, it's different for me and for Leo. He has money, right? Or you guys have money, and then that's growing. And you just and when you're older, you can do that. But for younger people, it's not just impatience, it's reality. I mean, I want to buy a house today. I can't wait till my $60 a month turns into a million. And so this whole process of figuring out what you want to do, a lot of people think, well, when I started on the internet in 95, I was just doing my little business, trying to make money. And people, well, why didn't I go to Silicon Valley in San Francisco and raise money from venture capitalists? And because I never heard of any of that. I didn't know what a venture capitalist was. Nobody was teaching me. I only knew what my father taught me, which is you run a business, you make profits,
Go, Larry.
you
Yes.
don't raise money and loot and do a bunch of marketing to get scale and then go public. Like he never told me that. Like, and so, and nothing against him, and it's all worked out quite fine. But still, it's how do you make a decision on what you're going to do with your life if you don't explore all the options? And so, again, that's what I like to stress. And the investing, the thing about investing is if you do it right, it's
Mhm.
kind of boring. It's kind of,
It should be. It
you
shouldn't
know,
be emotional, right? It shouldn't be emotional.
you own something good and you wait. And
Yeah.
this just yesterday, I don't know if you saw, there was a crypto flash crash.
I saw. I
Bunch
saw.
of, pardon my French, bunch of shit coins went down a lot. My Ethereum, or that I like, or if you own Bitcoin, you're up 200% in the last 6 months and it went down 15%. And I'm supposed to think this is a problem? Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, who cares? This is not because I'm just, I'm in it. I've owned it since 2000
It's
and
long term. It's long term. You're
owned
not
it
going to
since
pull it out until
2015. It
soon.
moved
Yeah.
10% in a day. I don't care.
Right. Right. Right.
And that's the attitude you want to have for investing. And yeah, so I get into a lot of that. There's a lot of making money too, and it's a lot of it is just having the right mindset. This thing about
True.
how the world is it a zero sum game where we're fighting over what exists, or
Yeah.
is it an infinite game where we're just trying to create more and more? You
True.
know,
Which is the latter. If you have the mindset of accepting that it is the latter, you will not be in a scarcity mindset.
right? And then you're not fighting and trying to take. You're thinking
Right.
about building and creating.
Yeah.
And so mindset is important. And the same thing with investing. If it's a long term thing that's just going to sit there, you're not watching drawing lines on charts at 2 in the morning.
Right. So question about investing. The terms have come up with like money manager. I have X, Y, and Z. Another person asked, I know they made more than $100,000, but for the sake of easy math, I made 100,000, sold a house, the client has an extra $100,000 to play with. Should they hire a money manager? And my thoughts are, no, open up an E-Trade account. I mean, I'm not paid by E-Trade or whatever, but they don't charge you fees to trade. So what are your thoughts on that?
First of all, I don't even use the terms money to play with, you
Okay.
know, trade.
Okay.
We're not trading and like people making profits on trading. No. So you want to put it in something that you think 5 years from now, this is going to be more valuable to the world than it is today. And
Mhm.
you're just going to put it in that, right? And my book, I talk a lot about S&P 500 and explain why that is the best option for like almost everybody. And, there are, and I talk about how you'll get off that path at some point. But honestly, it's just the 500 best companies in America that you're betting that all of those companies, with all those people going there every day trying to make things better in whatever they're making, is going to be better in 5 years. So you put your money into that. You're not paying percents to some money manager who puts you into a bunch of crap that does not beat the S&P 500 almost
That they
all.
make commissions off of.
They make commissions, which eats, the difference between 10% a year and 8% a year. And if you
It's
want to do
huge.
over that, and I'm going to just pull this out of my ass here, which is so $60 a month over 50 years at 10%, it's over $1 million. At 8%, I don't know, but it's probably 500,000
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
It's
And that's
significant.
why the money managers are driving a fancy car, because they're getting that 2%, even if they don't do well. So, yeah, listen, it's, some people have more complex situations, and I
Right.
don't want to like tell everybody to not, and it's good to get advice, but yeah, again, chapter one has all of that stuff, and I think
Read the book.
it's really important stuff. If you don't
Yes.
know what the S&P 500 is, you need to know.
You need to read the book. Yeah. And if it's scary, if any of this seems like it's going way over your head, just read the book because it is very well written and like written in a way your audience, or I think I read in the book, your audience was a high school student, right? Your avatar when you're creating this book was a high school student so they could easily digest it. And the chapters actually stand alone. So you can pick and choose. I do recommend you read the full introduction. But yeah, tell me about that process because when I read the first chapters, I thought, wow, this is so concise, so eloquent, so clear. When I talk to Dave, he doesn't always sound like this. And it's
No.
because we're in conversation, we're cracking jokes, you're talking to Leah, we're making fun of each other. So, what was your process in getting this information, aside from living through this process? How did you get everything so clear and concise and easy to understand?
Yeah, well, so there's a couple things. First, I have all these ideas in my head. My problem has always been I can't communicate it to people clearly or and concisely. I'm not that good at it. Now you read my book, you're like, what are you talking about? Right. But so I had all these ideas, and then someone wanted me to speak to some high school kids, and I came up with this structure, the flow of the book, the investing, not gambling, personal finance, career, once I had that structure, then I had an outline. And the way I am is it's just bullet points. I want to explain, well, if I want to explain S&P 500, well, that means I can explain what stocks are. And that means I need to explain, well, why is the S&P 500 better? Well, one issue is volatility. I got to explain what volatility is. And I just listed out like the whole structure, but not written as a book. And if you looked at it, you'd be like, yeah, what is, it's just a bunch of short points
Yeah.
in some sort of order. Then what I did, I learned with ChatGPT, and it took some, and then, to be honest, Claude is better at writing if you're interested. So I wish I started with Claude on this, but anyways, with whatever AI you're using, what I got into a flow with was I might write like 100 words. So I want to explain what a stock is. I want to explain that it is, you have ownership in the company, which means you have claims on those profits. And I want to make an analogy of that to, or come up with, give me three analogies of how you would explain that, and this is for high school age. And I may write 100 or 200 words.
You just rambled. You just rambled and had someone else like
And so
condense it.
then, then the AI takes my rambling and makes it really long, but written so that you would be like, oh, this is great, but it's too long for me because I just get to the damn point. So then I take ChatGPT's or the AIs and I edit that down and I paste it in and I move to the next point. And I did that once. I was just spending hours a day, and I just had point. I just kept going through, and it was a real back and forth. And I'll tell you, AI is the best writing assistant you can get, or ghostwriter, because if I'm up at 5 in the morning and I decide I want to write 3 paragraphs, I type it in and it works for me. And then I want to take a break and it's waiting for me. So
Yeah.
it was pretty fun. And then editing too, it was really helpful. It's like having an assistant who, in some ways, is really stupid because it will just do the stupidest things. But if you keep telling it what to do, it'll do it. And I always have found with myself, I always need back and forth because I speak in a way that so many people can't understand me. And by going back and forth, at least I don't go off into crazy
A
land.
tangent. So
Yes.
I have to thank you for opening my eyes to that because I'm friends with a lot of creatives, and the big thing is we're not Luddites, but I'm very fearful of AI like taking over everything. But hearing that and hearing that it truly was a collaborative effort and you used it as a tool instead of a brain replacement, it really does help.
Yeah, I don't. AI is not replacing anything. It is an assistant. You need humans to give AI the prompt, and then you need humans to review the result and edit it. And I mean, hey, maybe someday, whatever. But right now, listen, with me, this is a book that never would have been created. So I don't believe I put any writers out of the business, but I ended up hiring 2 editors to help me edit.
Okay.
I hired a book launch guy, and I paid someone to make a book cover. I mean, I created 5, so a lot of our contract jobs, but it created jobs that wouldn't have happened. I would have been busy remaining retired had it not been for the AI. And so,
That's really nice to hear. And I also appreciate in parts of the book you talk about ask the experts. Look, you're not a tax advisor, you're not a financial license, et cetera, et cetera. You're just giving advice. And also you can check with AI, but double check that information. I love that you inserted that. Or did AI insert
well, no, you actually I have a human editor,
that? Okay.
and she kept every time I mentioned AI, oh, AI can be wrong. And I was like, fine, I'll put it in. But to me, see, this is where I need the feedback because to me, it's like AI can be wrong. Well, no shit, it can be wrong. Like I
We
can be
all can.
wrong.
Exactly. Yeah.
Humans can be wrong. They
Yes.
talk about with auto driving cars.
Oh my gosh.
You know,
Yes.
the auto driving car, it can get in an accident. I'm like, well, did you know that 99.99% of accidents are caused by
Caused by
humans?
humans. Yes.
I
Mostly,
mean,
most
when
likely
I'm
under the
in my
influence.
car driven
Yeah.
by AI and
Yeah.
Tesla's driving me around, I am when I take over and I drive, I feel like this is really unsafe. Why am I doing this? That's how I feel. But then again, I'm not a good driver. So
Well, and you like to embrace the latest greatest, which has helped you take risks in life, which has also led to your success. So congratulations on all of the above and for sharing your knowledge with us. And truly, if you have not read this book or if you're going to read one financial why I can't even speak anymore, one financial literacy book this year, I would highly recommend reading this book by Dave Levine, Financial Literacy 101. Dave, any last words?
yeah, you know what? One thing that's been really fun for me, I created the book because I needed a foundation for creating a course. And that I wanted to get all the info in one place and really refine it. And part of me is like, it's the course, people want to be hand holding and this and that. But I make the book, people look at it and this and that. But I've been surprised, even before I put it on sale, I had the PDF. Hey, will you take a look at it? And I'll give you some feedback. And like, I've tried that before with other things, and I have people reading the entire book, like giving me so many edits too and suggestions, and like so many people, and like you said, I made it sort of high school, but so many people, older people, um, loving it, thinking it's so helpful, and again, reading the whole book. I'm like, you read the whole book already? Oh, I could like literally. I had this one of my neighbors. It's like, what's your husband doing? She's like, oh, he's on the couch. He can't stop reading your book. He read the whole book in like 2 days.
That's
And this is
awesome.
like just one of my neighbors. So things like that have been really, brings joy to me. So,
Oh, for sure. And it's just it's a pleasure to read. So thank you for creating this with the help of AI and showing me that AI can be a very helpful tool that is also creating more human jobs. But
yeah,
yeah, if you yeah, thanks, Dave. Really appreciate you.
thank you.
All
All right.
right. Bye.
See you later.
Yes.